about a driver, Brandon Lombard, real driver from Arkansas, that the company Uber put through hell, still putting him through hell, and still haven't fixed the problem. And what I did is I outed the individual who is sitting on his case, a paralegal, in the legal department in San Francisco at the Uber headquarters. I outed her and said, you've done shit. And because you've done nothing, you haven't even reached out to this driver, you did not deactivate the rider over what they did. He filed a suit against them, and they think the story is going to go away. No, it's not going to go away, because we hit a nerve, and I know I hit a nerve throughout the last maybe 12 years while I've been doing this. I've probably hit their nerve 4 or 5 times really hard. And when I hit a nerve, and I know I hit a nerve, that's when they send their attack dogs, text messages, comments. It's coming from the 415 from San Francisco. So I know that video got their attention, and many, many people responded to it. Even Jeff Watts responded to it. Here's the thing. When the people who are attacking or, trying to spin another story, trying to say, oh my God, how could you out this female, this paralegal in the legal department? How could you out her? That's dangerous. That goes against the safety. I have a whole lot of names in that legal department and within the company. I have their pictures, right? And I can make many, many such videos and show the company where they failed when it comes to safety. Now, I think this is a golden opportunity for Uber to fix the problem, right? And I'm a big advocate on safety. And I will highlight the story and push this story until the company acts. In fact, I invite them to call me and to find a resolution how to fix this going forward, because I certainly hit a nerve. And I care a continental shit about your threats, right? They mean nothing. They go straight over my shoulders. I will keep on pushing until you people in San Francisco act. And if it means exposing a person like Munoz, who has done nothing to help this driver, the ride is still out there. And little background story, this is why it's important people understand the entire story before they start barking, right? They're like, boo, woo, 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 woo. They like to react. They like to go fucking crazy, loco, and say, oh, how could you? How dare you? How vile? Let me explain the story. The only safety, the only danger that an individual has is the driver, because Uber failed to deactivate and take action on the rider. This was an individual picked up at a rehab center and continued to terrorize the driver because they had the phone number and they were calling him, they were texting him, they were threatening him. Other people left messages, voice messages, men got involved. Who knows? This individual had a little gang ganging up against this driver, harassing and threatening. And what did Uber do? Oh, let me guess. Nothing. Silence. And because we exposed them, and because we contacted the legal department, and because we filed a suit against Uber, and because we just added a subpoena, because we finally found out who that psychotic rehab psycho rider was, and we added the name, now they're going ballistic. Now, sweetheart, Mrs. Munoz, your life ain't in danger. You're not out on the streets. You don't get carjacked. You've never experienced any drivers who've lost family members, because all you do there is you handle cases. And when you sit on a case and you don't act, and let's say something happens to Brandon Lombard, let's say some of those psychos, because they have his address, do something bad against this driver, as thousands and thousands of riders have done to drivers, shot them, they've carjacked them, they've killed them, right, in their cars. But the company remains silent because safety is an issue that they do not want to talk about. Safety is an issue that's rather shelved and put aside, whether it's sexual harassment towards drivers and riders. All these safety measures, what is their go-to line? Oh, we have a 911 ADT feature in our app, right? Well, my friends at the legal department at Uber, you tell me how that 911 feature works after you've been stabbed in the neck or shot in the head. It doesn't work. And because you continue to not take action and fix the problem that Brandon Lombard is facing, constant harassment by rider and other people affiliated with that rider, threats, etc., etc., and you're doing nothing. The only danger, not that lady sitting in the legal department, she's in no danger. Who's in danger here? Brandon Lombard, the driver. That's why I have his back all day long, and that's why I will expose people like Munoz, and I'll be exposing more of those people because we have real stories. I get to interview, I get to look at the evidence of these people. And when I have a real story like like Brandon Lombard from Arkansas, who shows me the threats, who plays the recordings of the threats of the rider and the people associated with the rider, then I can bring a real story. And I will bring it directly to Mrs. Munoz's desk because she hasn't done anything. She's handling the case. She's not addressing the driver. She hasn't turned around and said, hey, you know what, Brandon, we deactivated that rider. We will not tolerate those threats from a rider and those type of messages and those type of recordings. We won't tolerate that. So we got rid of the rider. No, the rider remains on the platform. It's an individual that goes to a rehab center. It's an addict. And the company stays quiet. This is why I put Munoz's face behind the story, because I'm going to show, and I know this works because it hit a nerve. They panicked. They look at the comments. Look at the comments. Look at the text messages that I received. It's people from the 415 San Francisco that are pushing back. Maybe they're trying to protect their little paralegal over there. Sweetheart, I have news for you. You're in a cozy, safe building. The driver is in a car. The driver's house address is known to the rider. The driver's name and the house address is known to other thugs affiliated with that rider. But what are you doing? Nothing. So the real person here in danger is the driver. So no matter what these little San Francisco goons are trying to do, you will not intimidate this man with any threats. I don't worry about threats. I've had 13 lives already. I've been shot at with machine guns. I've been shot at with 9mm. I've had people try to stab me. I do not buy into fear, and I do not buy into threats. So whatever you coming and sending my way, it goes straight over my shoulders. But it shows me I hit a nerve. I hit a real nerve in San Francisco regarding safety. I exposed a story where they are still putting this driver in harm's way because all he has been receiving are threats from the rider. And again, I'm going to say this again, a rider that was picked up at a rehab center. For weeks and weeks, this rider has been terrorizing the driver, threatening, getting people to call, getting people to text. And what is Uber doing? Nothing. So what you need to really be concerned about and hope and pray at Uber that nothing happens to this driver, because you haven't taken action. Because if something were to happen to this driver by the riders that you haven't punished, Mrs. Munoz, by the riders that you have not taken action, then you will probably have a big issue with his family if something happens to that driver. So I'm putting you on blast, and I'll put other people. I have their faces. It's very easy. Unless you guys, all you legals and paralegals, go and remove all your faces from LinkedIn, they're all there. It's all public information. I have an entire list of all the attorneys and paralegals working at Uber. I have their names, I have their faces, I have the emails, and I will put them on blast. I will call them one by one. I will call them out on issues about safety. Now, these stories revolve around wrongful deactivations. This driver was deactivated because some psychotic drug addict picked up at a rehab was concocting story after story after story against this driver. But what's in the driver's favor? He has all the evidence in the world to back him up. He has the audio recordings, he has the threats, he has the highs and the lows of this drug addict, and we have it all. So, if anything, I said to this driver, Brandon Lombard, you want to go to trial, and you may want to even get a big heavy hitter attorney, but you will easily win this case in small claims. In fact, Uber would not dare go before a judge about this story because all the evidence would squash Uber's argument. So in this case, the plaintiff is Brandon Lombard. The person that has been subpoenaed and now added as a defendant is the Uber rider. It took us a long time to get the Uber rider's name and details. And the company Uber Technologies Incorporated is the defendant. And the way Munoz is handling it, don't talk to that driver. Hopefully the story goes away. No, it doesn't. That's why we're going to put this story on blast, because we hit a nerve over there, and we're going to keep on pushing the story until we see change. Now, this is a golden opportunity for you, Dara Khosrowshahi, right, to go and meditate and think about it at this weekend, right? How are you putting people in danger? You believe that your own people are in danger? No, they're not, right? This man has no intentions or any ill feelings towards that paralegal. All he wants is change. He wants change and safety. He wants the rider to go away. He wants the threats to go away. And he wants to know that the company has his back. They don't have his back. They're throwing him under the bus, just like they've done with thousands and thousands of other people who've been subjected to sexual harassment, who've been shot, who've been killed, who've been stabbed. Have you ever been there for any of those families? Have you paid their medical bills? Have you stepped in and tried to see how you can help these individuals that you threw under the bus? No. Only language Dara Khosrowshahi knows is, how can I make more money? In fact, he's so ruthless, you'll probably think, how can I make money out of that mother of the or father of that fallen child that died as a driver in the car? That is his mindset, right? So I've been around the game for too long, for just too long, have studied psychology, know how these people, the bad and the good, think. But the sad thing is, they are not motivated to make changes on safety. So we're going to push this story as far as we have to. And until Mrs. Munoz addresses this driver and tells him, hey, we've listened to the entire story, we've looked at the evidence, we are going to deactivate this psychotic rider. We are going to look into the threats and maybe file criminal charges against the rider. Then I'll be happy to take that video down. But until then, until they do something, if they do something, the video comes down, right? I'll gladly take it down. But we have to use this opportunity to push for change. Ladies and gentlemen, please hit the like button. We have 2 likes out of 20 people that are live online right now. Shout out to all the people that are in the feed. Yeah, you're right. Rod says, is the 175 million restitution only for Boston? It's for Massachusetts drivers. It's for Massachusetts drivers. BH says, as long as your body is healthy, you have thousands of problems. As soon as your body gets sick, you only have one problem. Stay healthy, my friend, 100%. J Hook says, give your best Asian accent, not doing it. Super Dinners says, why are you shouting, Torsten? Because that's me. If you don't like it, you can leave, amigo. No problem. Rochelle Ryan in the house. Kevin Hawthorne's in the house. Big says, I drive in Illinois, rates suck. You're 100% right about that. So, Mrs. Munaz, respectfully reach out to this driver, or have one of the senior attorneys, have the names, have one of them contact Brandon Lombard. Speak to him, listen to him, what he's been through, because your company, your inactions are putting this driver in a lot of danger. You put him in the car to pick up an addict from a rehab center that has been terrorizing him for weeks, that has gotten other people to threaten him. And what have you done? Nothing. Silence. So I'm giving you a real story and a real opportunity to fix this. Am I intimidated by the threats, by the messages that I'm getting from San Francisco? Hell no. That shit does not even faze me. So you can bark and scream as threaten as much as you want. Until you fix the problem, we can make changes together. Gladly take the video down. But because I hit a nerve, because we outed someone who's handling the case, because we put a real face, just happens to be a female, could have been a male, because we put a real face to the story and we showed that they've done nothing, I'm going to continue making those type of videos and calling out those individuals, those paralegals and attorneys. I did it to Randall Heimovicki, right? I did it to him. I exposed him in the past. I've exposed other attorneys in the past. They don't like that. They don't like that. Like, can you take those videos down? I will take them down when you people in the legal department, in the executive branch, make changes to safety. Now, Dara Koshashawi, I invite you, I've invited you 1,000 times to have a conversation with me on Zoom. I've actually had a very productive 45-minute session on Zoom with the CEO of Lyft, David Risher. A good conversation, him and his assistant, 2 people in one room in San Francisco, me here in Calabasas, talking to one another, right? And I think the conversation was very, very productive, because there are a few things in that conversation that Lyft has already put in action. Not all of them, but a few. So they are moving things forward. They know how to communicate. David Risher knows how to communicate. Dara Koshashawi, I don't think he took any communications classes or has any communication skills, nor do these attorneys, because silent treatment is their treatment. And that doesn't work. That drives drivers crazy. And right now, the driver's life is in danger. Not that lady who's sitting there in the headquarters at Uber. This driver demands change for all drivers going forward. This is a golden opportunity to fix something. When a driver reports a crazy, for example, an addict or somebody they picked up at a rehab center, my advice to Uber or Lyft, get them off the platform. When you get evidence and threats and screenshots and text messages and audio recordings of those threats towards drivers, I highly suggest you kick that rider and anyone associated with that rider off the platform before they get hurt. We've had enough drivers die behind the wheel. We've had enough drivers being carjacked. We're sick and tired of your poor safety measures. You just had a big article in the news that you had 400,000 plus cases of sexual misconduct against the company. You only reported 12,500. Where are the other 385,000? Dara Koshashawi, you are hiding the information. You're trying to keep it quiet. It all bubbles up and then it goes wild, just like this video did. And I know, again, what did I hit? I hit a nerve in the legal department. What did I hit? I hit a nerve in the legal department, and they are reacting and they're screaming, and how vile, how can you, how could you out this person? I outed this person because this person keeps on keeping this driver in a very dangerous situation. They have not communicated with him. They have not told Brandon Lombard that they would deactivate the rider, the psychotic addict driver who's been threatening and texting this driver for weeks. They've done nothing. So it's my job, after I look at all the evidence, I can comfortably say Uber's sitting on their ass, Munoz is sitting on their ass and think. And this case is on her desk. And there's other cases on other paralegals and other attorneys' desks. And we'll call them out one by one. I have your names. I have your faces. I have the stories from drivers that you are not attending to. And before I run a story, I will double, triple, quadruple do my homework that my evidence is solid. And in this case, you are endangering Brandon Lombard's life. And you're still doing it today, right now, to this very minute. You're endangering him because you have not taken any action. Actually, while I'm making this live feed, Brandon actually has just texted me. So I've asked Brandon to jump into the comments and you know, set the record straight. What he has endured, what he has been put through, because people like Munoz are not acting, because people in the legal department are too afraid to touch this, because they know it's a sensitive matter and they know they would lose if it would go to trial, right? The evidence is against Uber Technologies. So act. Don't be silent, act. Fix the problem, contact the driver, and fix the issue. And let all those threats against me come from San Francisco. I care rats. I care continental shit, because they go straight over my shoulder. I will keep on pushing and pushing the buttons and exposing these individuals for the inactions, for the inability to fix safety. That is my job. And I will be relentless, and I'll do it over and over and over again, exposing these individuals until they bring necessary change. Brandon, is that you, right? There's Brandon, that's him, I'm talking. Brandon Neal, that's Brandon Lombard in the house. That's the person I'm talking about. Thank you for jumping in. So Brandon, you know, feel free to, Anis Luna says the evidence is wrong. Not when you have screenshots, recordings with it. The evidence is solid, right? So you're in the wrong movie there, Anis. Brandon never testified. You don't know the story. You're talking out the back of your asshole right now. You see? See, Anis says Brandon never testified. Brandon brought the case to court. It's Uber that is afraid that he will testify and show the evidence. He has all the evidence he needs. So Anis, I can see, has zero clue about how the legal system works. And I don't know how many drivers you've defended, Anis, over the years, but we've done over 5,000 cases. I've been misled. Yeah, I'm sure you've been misled by Uber, right? But Brandon's in the house. He's right there. He says, yes, sir, right here. And set the record straight, Brandon, for anybody that doesn't know your story. Let them know what you've been subjected to. Let them know how you have been threatened. Let them know what type of rider they put in your car. Let them know that Mrs. Munoz, Brandon's right here. You have not contacted him. You have not told him how you will fix this issue, right? You have not told him how you will fix this issue. It starts by getting the rider off the platform, because every story has two sides. There might be a rider and a driver story. You got to listen to both sides, right? And if there are multiple false reports by a rider, they should be off. If there are multiple reports, for example, about sexual misconduct by a driver, the driver should be off. You got to look at both sides of the story. Daytona music engineer in the house, bunch of criminals. Yeah, all they think is that they're going to threaten me right now. I've received, since I put that video out there, the threats have been coming left, right, and center from San Francisco. But they don't faze me, right? Because I'm not afraid of those stupid, silly threats. What I am more concerned about is that we push some new safety standards. If it means that Brandon Lombard He's going into Brandon Neal in the room here, can push for changes and we can get changes, healthy changes, then we have scored a victory, right? Then we have scored a victory. Joel says Uber can take their threats and their advantage crap pay cut mode and stick it where the sun doesn't shine. That means stick it in their asshole. Exactly, right? And they don't like this channel because this channel, FYI, if people are new here, when I started out, I used to be the biggest recruiter for Uber and Lyft, bringing in thousands and thousands of drivers until they did not pay me out on the referrals, a lot of money. And I sued both Uber and Lyft, and then I became the biggest recruiting machine for attorneys. I recruited $80 million in cases for Potter Handy against Uber and Lyft. They settled. And so on and so on and so on. I now work with 12 law firms. I work with the best accident attorneys in the country, Legal Rideshare, Brian Greening, with many, many attorneys bringing case after case after case against Uber and Lyft and DoorDash and Uber Eats. So having gone from one of their biggest driver recruiters to one of the biggest recruiters of drivers for lawsuits, you've gone from making money through me to losing a lot of money, probably in and around $150 to $200 million, which we've conservatively calculated. So this case, Brandon Lombard versus Uber Technologies, I will put money on it. I'll bet any amount on it. It'll be ruled in Brandon's favor because all the evidence screams loud that the rider, we have their name, we've subpoenaed them, terrorized, threatened this driver, and Uber remained silent. Uber did nothing. Uber did not deactivate the rider. What did they do instead? They thought, oh, we get rid of Brandon Lombard. We deactivate him and we don't, my name Munoz, I'm a paralegal at Uber. I don't have to respond to this Brandon guy. I hope you do on Monday because that'll go, Brandon, if Mrs. Munoz reached out to you on Monday, Brandon, answer me this. And she said, hey, I apologize that I didn't get back to you. Let's get this sorted out. Would you be happy with that? If you find a resolution, you get back on the platform and the rider actually gets deactivated. I'm sure Brandon would be happy about that. And I will gladly take the video down because then we're one step further towards safety, right? Brandon Neal says, yes, okay. Brandon says they have nothing against me at all. I know they have nothing because I've looked at all the evidence. I don't know what this Anis Lunas is talking about. It's up to 76% according to Reddit. What on earth are you shouting about, Anis Lunas? What are you shouting about? Really? This person, Anis Lunas, is all over the show. Reddit, this, that. Come on now. Keep it real. Shaunt in the house says hi. Brandon says, I don't see her doing that though. I'm going to put money on this, Brandon, that Uber will reach out to you on Monday and Tuesday and try and fix this. I believe they will try and fix this. It's in their best interest because if something were to happen to you by that psychotic rider, they'd be facing the biggest lawsuit. Now they can still minimize their damage, right? They can reinstate you. They can pay you for the lost earnings. But if something were to happen to Brandon, all hell would break loose. All hell would break loose. What are cigarettes called in British? Cigarettes. Ciggies, cigarettes. You see, damn right, all hell will break loose. Now, I want to assure all those little Uber goons that have been threatening since I made that video, your lady is safe. Brandon has no ill feelings, nothing against the lady. He just wants her to fix the problem. And silence does not fix the problem. Acknowledging that there is a problem and saying we will fix it will fix the problem, right? So that lady has nothing to worry about. Absolutely nothing to worry about. She sits there in a building surrounded by security guards while this driver is out there picking up crackheads from rehab centers and then has to face an avalanche of threats. There's a huge, huge difference. Brandon doesn't have any security guard driving around with him, right? So, Mrs. Munoz, I can rest assure you, there are no ill feelings from me towards you. I just want you to do your fucking job. There are no ill feelings from Brandon towards you. Brandon just wants you to do your fucking job. Get rid of the rider, deactivate them, reinstate the driver, and look at the evidence. Or you'll look at the evidence at trial and you'll realize, shit, we effed up big time. And we could have taken action weeks and weeks and weeks ago. But instead, they allow this individual rider to continue using other people and the rider themselves to threaten this individual. Brandon says, but I sent overwhelming evidence to them and they still keep me deactivated. They haven't even answered you, Brandon. Munoz is just sitting. So I have 3,000 trips, 800 Uber Eats trips, and 4.93 ratings, and they refuse to reactivate me. And that is after he picked up an addict at a rehab center, and he sent all that evidence to Uber. And what are they doing? Silence. Silence. Nothing. Absolutely fucking nothing. So there we have it. Leah says, that's why in London our black cabs work for themselves. And if a passenger acts up and they stand on business and will feel no way about grabbing you and throwing you out of their cab. Excellent. That's how it's done, right? That's it. You can learn from the London methods. Don't ever tolerate shit as an independent contractor. Sadly, we face these terrible issues, this terrible fear every day of the wrong person getting into the wrong car, our car, and doing something bad. So they have a golden opportunity here to fix the problem. And the problem is that they are not addressing safety. John Kunz says nationalism doesn't just mean ultra-patriotism. Nationalism is a dialectic position in opposition to internationalism. Very deep, my friend. That's a whole conversation we can have on a separate occasion, but that's very deep. I like it. Brandon says, I wonder if Karina Munoz is watching this. I hope she is. And Karina, no one's threatening you. No one's threatening your nature, your person, right? We are simply putting your face on blast because you're handling this case. And I'm telling you right now, I've done a lot of cases. I have a 22 out of 22 record. I've won 22 out of 22 cases that I've filed. I'm filing another one on Sunday or Monday against 2 individuals, right? I don't intend to lose that either. I'm telling Mrs. Munoz, address the issue, communicate. I hear you. I've listened to your story. I've looked at the evidence. I will take action. So I hope she's watching. It's not an attack against her. She looks like a sweet lady. But I will put all of these paralegals on blast. I have all of their pictures. I have all of their names. I have all of their emails. I've been collecting for years. But now is the time for change. We cannot, and people say, oh, you should be addressing this with the CEO. Really? That doesn't seem to work because he doesn't respond. So all those people attacking after that video, oh, you should be calling out the CEO, not this Munoz. No, I'm calling out both. I called out both for the inactions in that video. I called out Dara Khosrowshahi, and I called out the legal department, and I called out Mrs. Munoz seniors, and I called out Mrs. Munoz because none of them are taking action. None of them are making an effort to keep drivers safe. So why should I only always call out Dara Khosrowshahi? He doesn't come on my show. He doesn't address the problems. I will start Sometimes, people say, oh, you got to start at the top. I'm going to start at the very bottom. This time I started at the very, very bottom with a paralegal working under other attorneys at the legal offices in San Francisco, and I'm calling her out. Why are you sitting on this case and allowing the rider to still terrorize the driver? Right, Brandon? So Brandon says, I wonder if Karina Munoz is watching this. I hope she is. It's crazy. I reported the rider and told Uber she made sexual comments to me. Then the rider retaliates against me a few days later, says I make sexual comments to her. And I told Uber, no, I didn't. Right? And you had the evidence and you shared the text messages with the company and they did nothing. And then Brandon says, then Uber says, okay, we trust you. Then the rider made two lost item reports about backpacks, and 3 weeks later she makes a second false sexual misconduct, and she's still weeks and weeks after that trip, after he picked her up at the rehab center, she is still fabricating lost item reports, false sexual reports, and she is getting, correct me if I'm wrong, Brandon, she's getting third parties, maybe your husband, maybe your boyfriend, to terrorize you and to threaten you. And what has Uber done, Brandon? I know what they've done because I speak to Brandon every single week. They've remained silent. Hopefully this fucking story goes away. My name is Munoz, and I hope the story goes away. No, Munoz, we're putting it on blast. No, Daryl Koshashaw, we're putting it on blast because we deserve safety, right? We deserve to be safe. Brandon says, yes, all evidence, and they've done nothing. And we did videos about this. I interviewed Brandon about this. He sent me all the evidence, send me the recording, send me the screenshots, send me the threats. What does Uber do? Crickets. Nothing. Silence. Hopefully this guy Brandon goes away. No, Brandon's not going away. And Brandon found a very loud mouthpiece. He found this advocate called the Rideshare Professor, who has no fear of these goons, who does not care about Uber threats. I've been through this rodeo before. I've had these threats from Uber and Lyft before. They don't faze me, right? I don't lose sleep over their threats. And Brandon says, I'll never go away. This is why I like the guy, because he's not giving up. Just the same in my DNA. I'll not give up. And together we're going to ride the story into the sunset until we receive change. Change that we deserve. Safety changes that we deserve for all drivers. Some billion-dollar company won't scare me one bit. I love that. That's what I preach every single day. These billion-dollar companies like Uber and Lyft, and they've sent their goons on me. I mean, I've had really threatening calls in the past. Doesn't faze me. I am extremely trained in one area. I've done many years in the intelligence. I've done many years in the army. And I've run some of the most dangerous businesses you can ever think of in the slums of South Africa, with bulletproof cars, machine guns, Uzis, AK-47s, 15 security guards. I've been through it all. Still standing. Brandon says, damn right, change and transparency. That's what we're pushing for. The Brandon Lombard story and the Rideshare Professor teaming up with Brandon Lombard, we are pushing for change and transparency. Two words I don't think that are familiar with that CEO, Dara Khosrowshahi. I don't think he knows them. Brandon says, in here, Torsten, I got your back. I'll defend you against anyone that tries to trash your name. Brandon, I'm not afraid of people, the attack dogs of Uber that try to trash my name, right? That doesn't faze me. I know I'm on the right side. I know that I'm bringing the facts. I know that I'm reporting on the story. I know that we have a chance to make positive changes together. And I've done this with a few drivers, a handful of drivers over the years. When I get a story that can make change, that can bring change, I will ride that wave all the way to the beach, all the way to the beach, from way out there in the ocean, catch that wave and ride it all the way to the beach until we get commitments. We need commitments from the companies on safety. Now, because we've been pushing and striking and protesting relentlessly over the years, we have had several things change, right? We've had big lawsuits, big class actions brought against Uber and Lyft. We've brought changes to certain states and cities, but we're not done. We have more to do. So Brandon says, hi, Torsten, I got to go back to work. Talk to you soon. Thank you for being here, Brandon. Jump in at some point again. Answer the people if they have questions. Everyone, Brandon Neal here in the room. That is Brandon Lombard, the driver that was affected by this rider. And what has Uber done? Nothing. He'll gladly answer your questions. He'll gladly come back periodically, read the comments and answer your comments. Feel free to ask him anything you want. But together, Brandon Lombard and I are going to push change. And I hope, Mrs. Munoz and other attorneys above Mrs. Munoz call him on Monday and try and work things out. Come up with some productive, healthy solutions. And the number one thing I would do is get the rider off the platform. Because what that crack addict rehab rider is doing to him, they will do to others until something happens. The real people that are in danger are the drivers that are being subjected to the endless threats by this rider and the people around the rider that are working with the rider. Those are the only people that are in danger, not Mrs. Munoz, not the people at the legal department, not Mr. Dara Koshashawi, who spends $2 million on safety and security. Those people sleep well at night. But they really need to think for a minute what we are pushing for, what our message is here. We have an opportunity. And I hope, Mr. Koshashawi, when will you ever pick up the phone and say, hey, Torsten Kunert, let's have a conversation. Or let's go out for coffee. Let's go out for lunch. Gladly. Right? Gladly. Come on my show. And I know you don't like live shows, but come on my show. And I just don't see it happening. I just don't see it happening because in this last Q2 quarterly, the second quarter report, they squeezed drivers even further. They squeezed riders. So there's really no intent to work with drivers and riders. There's no intent from Koshashawi to fix things or help drivers. Quite the opposite. And the same attitude the legal department displays, the same attitude Mrs. Munoz displays in her radio silence, her absolute silence. I'm not going to fix this. I'm not going to address this. I'm not going to make change because my boss said, fuck them all. So have a good one, my friends. Happy weekend. 45-minute video. Sharing is caring. Get this live. Share everywhere. Put it on Twitter. Put it in the Facebook groups, please. Brandon, get the story out there. Everyone, 21 people in the house, 11 likes. If you haven't smashed the like button, smash it right now and help us circulate the story. Mrs. Munoz, on Monday, I hope you reach out to a driver called Brandon Lombard who still faces danger from the rider and the people associated with the rider. Let's fix this. Thank you, everyone. God bless and have a great weekend.